Hey guys, this is Mrs. Langton. I miss you all and hope everyone has been able to spend some time together indoors. I put together a small science lesson with a snack at the end. So, I want to ask you all, what do Oreos and the moon have in common? Well, you're going to have to stay tuned in order to find out. Do you ever look at the moon and wonder why its shape seems to change? Or why it seems to shine brighter at times than others? Well, the moon actually doesn't shine. The light you see is a reflection from the sun, and its shape is all thanks to this guy. So let's check this out. As you can see, it takes the moon about a month to orbit the Earth. So it'll go all the way around, and it typically takes a month. This is when it starts to go through its shapes, or as we call them, phases of the moon. Now, as you can see right here, the view from the Earth, how we see it, when the Earth begins to get a little closer to the sun, you see less of the reflection from the moon. So as it's further away, the sunbeams here hit it a bit better, reflecting off, and that's what we see. Now, a little vocabulary that may help us with all of this. When we're saying phase, that's when I mean the shape of the moon or the stage that it's in. And when you're going to see a little bit later, when I say the word waxing, it means that the moon seems like it's becoming bigger, but that's the reflection off the sun that we're seeing more. And then when you see this word waning, it means that it's becoming smaller, but it's really that reflection that we're not seeing as much of, and it looks like the moon is becoming smaller. Now, when you see the word gibbous, this means more than half of the circle. So you have a full circle here. If you see the moon and it looks like a little bit more than half, that's when it's a gibbous. Now, this is just a picture that might help us to see a little bit more of what I'm explaining. Still, we have the Earth in the center, and the sun would typically be somewhere off in the middle of the solar system, the Earth moving around, and so would the moon. And when the sun is hitting the moon here, we technically don't see much of the moon because our eyes are looking here and the sun is hitting it on the back, so it's not reflecting as much. Now, when the moon starts moving around, we have the sun hitting more of it and reflecting more of it, so we see a bit more. Now, going back to our question, what do Oreos and the moon have in common? We can actually make the moon phases from our Oreos. So in order to do this, here's what you're going to need. Cookies. Now, you're going to need a few of them. I would say around like 8 to 10 just to be on the safe side. They don't have to be Oreos. They can be any type of cream filled. They can be off brand. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter. They don't have to be chocolate. They can be vanilla as long as you have some type of cookie. You are going to need a plate or a sheet of paper to place these onto. It doesn't matter, again, how many you have, just a plate or a sheet. You're going to need some markers or colored pencils, just a few just to make some markings and to draw our earth and sun. You're also going to need a spoon to help scoop out the shapes or the phases of the moon. And you're also going to need a napkin in case you don't feel like eating all of this. Now, going right into our activity, I used a plate. And your first step is you want to draw the Earth because we will need that in order to have our moon orbit it. And you're going to want to draw the sun. Now, at any point in time, you can pause the video just so it doesn't keep going faster than you are. So feel free to pause right now if you need to draw this first step. The second step of our moon phases with the Oreos is I'm going to just start out with a new moon that is closest to the sun. This is typically the one where the sun is reflecting off the back of the moon and we don't really see much of it, but this is our first guy, the new moon. So you're going to want to get an Oreo, and possibly if you can't twist it off as nicely as I did and get no cream on it, you're going to need to scrape it off and then write the new. The third step is we're going to go into our next phase of the moon, which is called the waxing crescent. Remember, waxing is when you start to see more and more of the moon forming. It's going to get bigger. And crescent's just like a little sliver. Sometimes it's like those crescent rolls you might get at the grocery store, but this is our next phase of the moon. Again, you can pause at any point in time. Step 4 is when we get our first quarter, also known as the half moon that we see. Now see how there's still more waxing going on. We're seeing more and more of this moon because of the sun's beautiful reflection. Step 5 is the waxing gibbous. Now here is that word again, that vocab word. Gibbous means more than half of the circle. Now it's not the whole circle yet, it's like 3/4, but more of the reflection from the sun. So this is the waxing gibbous phase. Step 6, the wonderful full moon, where it seems like everything just goes really crazy when there's a full moon out. If you can, I was able to twist off. This is where I used one full cookie, but if you want to use another one just to have an additional snack, you can just twist a whole new one off, eat that cookie, and leave the full one here. Step 7, the waning gibbous. Now, waning was our vocabulary word for when it's getting smaller, less and less. We are approaching closer to the sun again in the orbit. So there is not much reflection now to the front of it, so we are seeing less of it. So this will be this little cookie. Use your spoon here to scoop a little bit more off. And then step 8 is called the third quarter. It is the other half moon from the first. And no, do not ask me why there is not a second quarter. It's typically this, but our third quarter is the other half of the moon, and now we are seeming to be losing more of the moon. But remember, there's no reflection here. We can't see this part. And then step 9, we have the waning crescent, where we are approaching closer and closer to the sun as we're orbiting, and the reflection we're seeing here, we can't see as much of it from where we are on Earth. So now we're getting this waning part where it seems like less of the moon is showing to us. So this is our full set. Now, of course, there's not multiple moons, there's just one. So if you can tonight, go out and, take a little peek, see which one you see from the moon tonight. And, you can always report back to me. You can email me, let the school know on the Facebook page. But this is the phases of the moon with Oreos. And if you want any additional resources just going off with the moon, on Brain Pop you can see Tim and Moby with moon phases, or on Tumble Books there is plenty of books with the phases of the moon ring, Bella Luna, and the first mouse on the moon. There's plenty more just to read up and about. I miss you guys a lot, and I hope you all enjoyed this activity just as much as I did. And I hope to see everyone soon.